What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the tavern. I'm Spencer,
And I'm Eli.
and this is Bardic Blunders. And today we got a couple new things to talk about. Some new movie trailers that came out. Um, we got one topic that carried over from last week. I'm trying real hard not to cough right now. I failed. Um, oh, okay, we're good. Maybe
Sure,
not.
sure we are.
Hey, you talk for a second.
Hey, yeah, I'll keep talking. I don't have the board in front of me because I don't have YouTube open. Give me a second. We're working. We're working. We're
Oh
going.
gosh. Okay, I think we're good.
Spencer's still dying. I don't have the board.
Oh, okay. Hold on, I gotta turn you up because I had.
Uh,
All right, we're good.
so you
Whew.
had me quiet and had me trying to distract your chat.
Yeah, I didn't realize it. Shut up.
You son of a. Anyway. Oh,
But
my
yes,
back.
we first we'll get to the Team Cherry thing first. So Team Cherry recently, I'm sure everybody knows about this now because this was a couple weeks ago. Team Cherry had a whole thing where, of course, everybody's been waiting for Silk Song news. They're waiting with bated breath, checking all the developers' socials, like everything. And they had a little thing where one of the developers randomly changed his profile picture on Twitter to cake, which had everybody like looking into things because, of course, Silk Song fans are rabid. What's up, Dauntless? Um, I, it's been a bit now, so I don't remember the entire thing. But basically, he changed his profile picture and he posted something, and everybody freaked out. They thought it was an ARG. So they start digging. They do reverse image searches of the cake, and it comes up to an article that was written on how to cook the cake, how to bake the cake. It was posted on April 2nd last year, and everybody was like, wait a second, there's a Nintendo Direct on April 2nd this year. That means Silksong is going to get announced at the Nintendo Direct. Like, then everybody's freaking out. The biggest Hollow Knight YouTuber, Fireborn, posts about it because he's like, this actually could be something. No other Silksong news in a while has been relevant at all, but this could be something. And then they came out and they were like, no, that wasn't anything. That was just a thing he did. And it, like, that soured so many people on them because you can't be careless. Like, I don't know if it was him intentionally trying to play a joke. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. But whether it was a joke, whether it was just, I don't know. He needs to think about that more. All of them need to think about that more. They have had
Yeah.
people waiting for this game for almost 7 years now. I think it's 7 years at this point. It's been a while. It's been a while. Sorry. But they just when they're in this kind of position, they need to think things through more because that's absolutely going to that they're scorning a bunch of their fans, their audience.
Yeah.
Um, and I that's the kind of thing I think game devs need to think about more. But
Mm-hmm.
that's about all for that. Moving on to the next thing, couple movie trailers came out within the past few days. Both the Jurassic World, what was the tagline for it? Jurassic World.
No, not
No,
domination.
Dominion was the last one. It's like Rebirth. No, that's Final Fantasy. I just watched it earlier. That says how forgettable it was to me.
Yes, Rebirth.
Okay, it was Rebirth. Uh, so Jurassic World Rebirth and Fantastic Four First Steps, I think is what it was called. Uh, so let's talk about Jurassic World first. I am of the opinion that the Jurassic Park franchise needs to be put to rest. It needs to be left where it is, and I don't think any more movies need to be made of it. If a video game wanted to be made, like that kind of stuff, I could see that.
They have one.
Yeah, they have plenty. They they've got the Telltale game. There's old ones on the NES. Like there's plenty of Jurassic Park video games. But I think as when it comes to the movies, I think the movies just need to stop because this one to me, I know you have a differing opinion, so I'll let you
No,
go
I want to
off.
hear. You go first, and
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Okay, okay. So, first off, the original trilogy, pretty good. Not what I'd put up there with the best movie trilogies of all time, but solid. The original one, easily the best because of what it was. What's up, Razorbolt? And that's exactly it, Dauntless. But it was the original one was fantastic. The second one was kind of meh, but it still worked. And I think the third one was better, not as good as the first. My personal favorite is because of what it was to me as a kid, but still good. Then Jurassic World comes out, what, 10 years after the first one? It was like 2013, I think it came out, around there.
Give me a second.
But Jurassic World was solid. I didn't mind Jurassic World. The idea of the theme park and they're back in the original island and all of that, I thought that was a good idea. And I think for the most part, it worked.
2015.
2015. Wow, it was actually a bit later than I thought, but it is a decade old now.
Yeah.
But I thought that one worked, and I thought, Chris Pratt's character was fine, although I didn't find his character as interesting as like Alan Grant and from the first. I can't say trilogy because he was only in the first and third, but I thought the movie was good. It was enjoyable. I don't see anything wrong with it. The second movie, I can't say the same. There was a lot about the second movie I didn't like. The idea of destroying the island was fine, but the whole sequence with it was kind of goofy. Especially like I know they're trying to make an iconic movie shot, and most of the time you can overlook illogical things for the sake of a cool movie shot, but the brontosaurus doing its little like rear up in the cloud of smoke, that thing would have been ash as soon as the cloud covered it. It would not be alive to do like some cinematic roar. I know that's being a little bit picky, but that was something that immediately bothered me in the moment where I was like, every single one of them would have been dead. Chris Pratt, I don't remember the redhead actress's name. I'm not.
You're
good
asking
with
me.
names.
I neither am I.
And then the other dude that was with him. Like I think, I like all three of them would have died in that sequence. But that aside, it was just the whole, oh hey, here's another modified creature plot again. Like you could have done something interesting with the, like what if I don't know. You could have set it up in a better way, I think, rather than just being like, oh, here's some flashy new thing that we can sell more toys for. But yeah, I don't like the second one. I have not yet seen Jurassic World Dominion. I have heard from everybody who's watched it that it was.
I did not like it.
Oh,
But
you've seen it, okay?
yeah.
See, like
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I know you, Justin, another one of our old friends, and my dad. All like my dad was like, it was fine, but it wasn't good. And everybody else is just trashed on it. Like, wow, that movie sucked. But it just took that same thing, like it was like they realized, oh, we can't just keep doing the modified creature thing over and over again. Well, what if there were dinosaurs all over the world? It's like, oh, okay. Don't really care. Like that could be an interesting concept, but from what I've heard from everybody, they just didn't execute it well. And so the way I look at it is, it's the same. They're trying to one up themselves, and it's a theme in not just Hollywood, but in the gaming industry. And it's like, we can never move to the side and look at something different. Anime does it too. I'd have this criticism with anime. Everybody wants to have their Goku, you know, like, oh, this character's super powerful. One Piece did it. Naruto did it. Bleach did it. Every single freaking show that's one of, mostly shonen category, yes, but still, every show like that is like, we gotta have some big, powerful main character that's like Goku. You know, it's a constant thing. Like, we gotta one-up ourselves. And that's the way I feel this is. Well, now we're on a new island that's got all the creatures that were too dangerous for the original park. If they were too dangerous for the original park, why were they kept alive? Why are they not executed on the spot? Because the whole point was developing creatures for an attraction, for people. That's what Hammond wanted to do. He wanted to create a park, a Jurassic Park, for people to come and see dinosaurs, that like extinct creatures. But now we're gonna mysteriously discover that he developed some hyper dangerous creatures. Like, I don't know. I don't like the concept of it. If they had tried to play it in the way of, here's a flashback story about Hammond when he was young, where the experimenting went wrong, and here's how the early cloning went, and I know you mentioned before the stream, like, what we're experiencing with cloning now, where it's like, oh, this is kind of like a sheep, but it doesn't grow wool and it has 7 legs. Like,
yeah,
that would have made more sense to me. But just randomly, oh, they're all on this island that nobody knew about until now, and they also haven't left the island. Like, that, because I'll point out one thing. I don't recall any of the original Jurassic Parks delving into water dinosaurs. Like, at least not big ones like the Mosasaurus. And even Jurassic World, when it had the Mosasaurus, it had it in the enclosure. Where it was like, it had the big area to swim around in, but it wasn't free to swim around the ocean. Why would the Mosasaurus stick around this one island? Why would they never journey out and, like, oh, hey, go hunt down blue whales? Or, I know they're not going to be exactly Mosasaurus because they're genetically modified, but they're equivalent. Because they had a scene with that in the trailer where it's like, oh, they're attacking the boat. Why would they not just venture out into the ocean and start devouring things? I know other dinosaurs, that's not as conceivable for that to happen, especially if the island is isolated, you know. Nothing else really could, but those could just go have a heyday. So
yeah.
They might be able to explain it, but I don't know. Now, what's your point?
Have you ever read the original Jurassic Park book?
Yes. Not in a long time, but I do. I recall
remember
some
bits
of the
and
big
pieces.
things. Yeah.
So, the whole thing with the Jurassic Park book was he wasn't making dinosaurs. That was a big theme in the book. Hammond was not making dinosaurs. That's him and the main character, the archaeologist. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
got into an argument over that. It's like you're not making dinosaurs, you're making monsters. Because originally the Jurassic Park book was the brainchild of the writer watching Aliens.
Right.
And he was like, I like dinosaurs. I want to write a book about it.
Dinosaurs.
And all of the dinosaurs were genetically modified monsters. That's why, because they were all female. That was the whole thing. It's like they can't breed. And then they found eggs, and they were like, what? Because they put cuttlefish DNA in them.
Yeah.
And cuttlefish can swap genders if there's not enough males or females in the genetic diversity.
Yeah, and that's, they bring that up in the original, if I remember correctly, right?
No.
Yeah, because they have the whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, they're all females. They shouldn't be able to breed, and they're like, why do they have eggs?
All
then?
they said.
They don't
That's
say
all
the
they
whole
said
thing
about
specifically about cuttlefish, but
it's on the screen in one of the backgrounds. Is the big thing, and they're like, "Oh, you need to." That's when moviegoers actually paid attention to movies, and would go
right.
and would go and rewatch them. So this is it's just doing it's this reskin of a monster movie. Also to point out, from what we've learned about mosasaurs in more recent years, mosasaurs can't travel that far.
Okay.
That's actually a very recent discovery, is they can't travel very far because they're air-breathing lizards.
Fair enough.
Much like alligators and crocodiles. So they actually have to stay within regions so they can sleep on rocks and breathe the air.
Oh, what's up, Ian? Okay.
There's a lot of other, like, some of them, like, okay, the Dilophosaurus, I think, was in the trailer. The fanboy.
I can't remember. The only two things...
The face frill from the first movie that killed the
Nedry, yeah, that is the Dilophosaurus.
They're bringing him back. I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they fucked up in the talk about it. I really don't think it was supposed to be for the first one. I think it was supposed to be for Jurassic World itself.
Okay.
That's why these dinosaurs are still around, because
see, that would make more sense.
That's the only thing that would make more sense to me.
That would fit. But then I still have the gripe with, that's not what it sounded like in the trailer.
Yeah.
And they gotta deliver that better.
Exactly. That's just bad marketing.
Right. Because, I know that's not the movie writer's fault, but...
Yeah. If it is that would make a lot more sense why they have that creature in there, and they're like, oh, whoopsie.
Right.
Because, well, like,
it would make more sense why she's genetically modified freaks that the first one didn't have. I mean, obviously all the dinosaurs were genetically modified, but you know what I mean.
But then you're getting into things like Wong being the really big bad guy, which they made out to be in a couple of the movies.
Oh, they made that clear in the world.
Yeah. In the third one, I can't remember the name of it, but launch game. In the third one, they actually do have a region where they've set up to put dinosaurs back, to like try. It's like the super rich are buying dinosaurs as like pets,
right?
Or display pieces.
Yeah, and that's another thing that could be interesting to explore.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and that's when you get
Fallen
into more
Kingdom.
like dystopian kind of things.
And
Like
that's interesting to me. It's hard to like get my brain around that like whole like really really enjoyed Jurassic um Jurassic World, the first of that trilogy.
oh yeah, that that's I'm not gonna knock the first of that trilogy. I thought it was solid. And I didn't even think it needed a follow up. I thought you could have ended it right there. Obviously, you knew they weren't because with a name that big, they're going to try and make as much money as possible, which I think is another
Yeah.
issue when it comes to writing is that's another gripe about writing we'll talk about later. Focus on money rather than actually making something good. But it it's one of those things where yeah, that first movie was felt right in line with the rest of the Jurassic Park movies.
Yes.
It fit. It was perfect. And the idea of the Indominus was cool. You're like, "Oh, they genetically modified a T-Rex?" And the whole scene at the end where the T-Rex and the Velociraptors are fighting the Indominus was pretty freaking cool. Like that was just entertaining to watch. I there's no other way to put it. It was just fun. And
It's meant to be an entertaining movie series, not a serious movie series.
right.
That whereas the original Jurassic Park was much more serious, much more thought out.
But
That's where I get into the difference in movies.
but you still like in the original Jurassic Park, they still spend so much time focusing on how remarkable these dinosaurs are. Like with the moment of Grant like fumbling to take off his sunglasses to admire the Brachiosaurus or Brontosaurus, whichever
Yeah.
one it was, and just the do 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 as it pans across all the dinosaurs, it really was just like phenomenal to look at, and it had that element of this is just beautiful, and then it turns that later on where you get everything escaping and all the like the kids are hiding in the kitchen and the T-Rex is coming after them. Like I thought that movie did it right where it had just the right mix of this is beautiful, this is fantastic, and this is horrifying and dangerous.
Yeah. I the biggest thing that I said while watching that trailer was like, don't do Velociraptors again.
And yes, Dauntless, I can't agree. The Indominus wasn't the coolest design in the world, but I'm just saying conceptually, it's not a bad idea to do it once. But
I will say when they did the smaller one, that was like, oh, that's actually scary.
the smaller one, what did they? I think they called it the Utahraptor, which I griped about because I was a dinosaur nerd as a kid, and I was like, that's already a dinosaur. That's already a kind of Velociraptor. That's not a Velociraptor, but it's already a kind
No, I
of
think
raptor.
it was the Ultra Raptor.
Was it the Ultraraptor?
It-
I need to look.
I
This
think
up
that's
now.
what they call, or the Indominaptor.
Uh, Dino from Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, the Indoraptor. That's what it was. Which was just using the same like Indo from the Indominus.
Yeah.
Should've called it the
Which
Dirt
is it's Latin for something. I can't remember the exact the exact thing it means in Latin.
But yeah, that one. While I can gripe about the not thinking it was as interesting, doing the whole modified thing again, I did think that one was a cooler dinosaur. I thought it was more intimidating, and the idea of like the hyper intelligence was played a lot better with that one, I think.
Yes.
So, like I can give that movie its compliments. It's just like, oh, we're doing this again. Okay, here's another set piece. Indominus means like super resilience. Let me look up Indo.
No, Indominus is like Indominatoria in Latin.
Indo,
but you gotta think all.
Indo is to put in or on to introduce. So it's they're naming it like just basically they're introducing other genes into the already modified, existing dinosaurs. In world, the people aspect was good. Yeah. And then you don't care about anyone in the sequels. Yeah, dude. What was it? The little girl that was also genetically modified that they tried to play up, and I was just like...
Wait, that was a thing? I did not see the second movie.
Oh, really? Oh, dude, you need to watch it. It's so bad. Most of the movie is just... It's like, yeah, there's a little girl who's somehow related to Hammond. She's like his granddaughter or great-granddaughter or something like that. And she's genetically modified like the dinosaurs are. And I don't remember what that whole plot line was at all, but I remember thinking, this is the dumbest thing in the world. This is a dinosaur movie. Why are they trying to get me to care about a child? Like, that's what I was thinking the whole time when she was on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's another problem I have, Dauntless. I know that this is kind of a thing that's existed in all of Hollywood, but this is another gripe I have. We have an A-list actor. We can't put them in any real danger. Like, the issue, like, there's a scene in the second one where, what does he have to sample from the T-Rex? They're trying to escape the island as it's, well, they've escaped the island at this point as it's being burned to a crisp, but they're on a boat of poachers who are collecting the dinosaurs to sell at auction. And in one of these giant cages is the T-Rex. The OG one. And they, for some reason, I think it's to save Blue, have to do a blood transfusion. And they have to take blood from the T-Rex. So they not only have to sneak in to the tranked T-Rex's container, but try and stick it, get some blood, and then get out. All without being noticed by the poachers. And the entire time you're watching, it's supposed to be a suspenseful situation, but it's Chris Pratt doing it, so you know he's not going to die. You know he's not in any real danger.
They need to kill off A-list actors more often. It would just help Hollywood as a whole.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like The Rock.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started on The Rock. I could gripe about Hollywood's overuse of certain actors a lot because I think it's... I think it's an issue. Because we'll talk about it in a minute with Fantastic Four. Like, I don't think Pedro Pascal fits as Mr. Fantastic. I thought he would have been better in a different... Like, I just don't think he's the best actor for that. Not to say he's not a good actor, mind you. I love him in Mandalorian. I think he's a phenomenal actor. But when you have, like... You see Robert Downey Jr., he is Iron Man. He was perfect for Iron Man. Chris Evans was perfect for Captain America. All these different Marvel actors they got, that was one of the things that helped Marvel so much, is they seemed to be so on point in the casting. To the point where you're like, did they just reach into the comics and pop someone, you know, like create them in real life and be like, all right, now we have the guy to play? That's the way it felt. And John Krasinski already played Mr. Fantastic in the brief moment in Multiverse of Madness. I haven't seen that movie, mind you. I just know of that clip. He was perfect. He was the one to play. He looks like him, for crap's sake.
Yeah.
It looks like they pulled him straight out of the comic book. Why didn't they just recast him for this one? I get it. There may be something behind the scenes, like he didn't want to come back and play the role or something like that. But, you know, good grief. Like, that would have been a better fit to me. But, anyways, we can save the blabbering about actors for later. But yeah, that's definitely an issue in Hollywood, is the unwillingness to do anything drastic until it's absolutely expected. Speaking on Iron Man, I mean, you knew his contract was expiring. You knew Iron Man was either going to die or be relegated to a background role.
Yeah.
But to stop yapping for just a minute, to the next movie, I'm not going to talk about the Captain America movie because I didn't watch the trailer, and frankly, I'm even less interested in that than I am any other Marvel movie. Like Fantastic Four, at least I'm like, oh well, they're remaking Fantastic Four. I'll at least look at the trailer. I could not care less about Falcon as Captain America, dude. But did you watch the Fantastic Four trailer?
I saw bits and pieces of it.
Okay. So
I do not like it for one reason.
What's your reason?
It feels too much like the Jetsons for me.
That's funny. That is funny. I like that. See, because I was going to say, I like the idea that they were going for with putting it in like a 50s-esque era. Thing does look perfect, Dauntless. Thing does look really good. I can't complain about that. And I honestly, as much as I'm griping about Pedro Pascal, I think his performance is going to be fantastic in it because he's just that great of an actor.
Yeah.
I think it is supposed to take place in the 60s. 50s, 60s, whenever it is. But I love your Jetsons comparison. That's really funny. He isn't a rubber suit or a boulder with eyes. I do like the OG like 2005 thing, but admittedly this one will probably be done better. Go ahead with what you were gonna say.
I have the problem of I like the Fantastic Four. I do not like how they're portraying like the multiverse stuff. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's another thing I could go into. I when I was talking about this earlier with my dad, I was saying that there's one inherent issue with the MCU that was bound to crop up at some point. And it's that you just can't set up stuff like ongoing things with villains. You know, we gripe about Marvel killing off villains too often. Like I've done a lot. It's hard to set up reoccurring things with that. And the multiverse is one of those things. Because the whole multiverse thing in Marvel is just an excuse to be like, hey, this dude wanted to write his own kind of Spider-Man, so this is just going to be in a different multiverse than the other Spider-Man. Like, let's be honest, that's pretty much what it is. We want to write more comics that are interesting stories, so the multiverse, and that answers all questions. The problem they get into with Marvel is I think they would be well suited to do just, hey, here's a character in his own multiverse. Like, for example, Scarlet Spider.
Yeah.
Scarlet Spider. Okay. That's it. That was his story. We covered his story. We're not trying to attach this back to all the other multiverses. I think that's one of the problems they get into, which I get it. They want to keep bringing these heroes back over and over again, but at some point, it's like, come on, man, you gotta cut it off. And that's, I think, one of the issues. Like, how are they going to bring the Fantastic Four into the multiverse?
Yeah.
They've already struggled to bring it together with other things. But my big gripe with it is with the villain. And spoilers to anybody who hasn't watched the trailer. It's a minute and a half long. You know, go watch it. The villain at the end is teased to be Galactus. Galactus is cool. I don't have a problem with Galactus being in the MCU. As a matter of fact, that's one of the few things that could get me back into it. But I'm skeptical because they have a tendency, like I just mentioned, to just put in a villain, a prominent villain, and then kill him off.
Yeah.
Ultron is the biggest one, but then they have the Mandarin. There's countless villains that have got one movie, and then they were done. That was it. They're gone. Loki had his Thor movie where he was Thor's brother, and, you know, he wasn't really the villain. I mean, I guess I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched Thor. I think he was an antagonist, but you can't really call him a villain. Because I think the whole plot of the movie was Thor battling with himself, which was interesting, a unique idea for a superhero movie. But then he became the villain heading into Avengers, and I thought he was a good villain in Avengers. I thought he played a solid job. Let's mix around all these guys. Let's take the Avengers and that are already at odds with each other and start messing with them even more.
Yeah.
Then he's kind of just become another good guy. I know he's had his little mischievous moments, but he's kind of just a good guy now. Let's be honest. Getting a Nick Cage Spider-Man noir show, that sounds awesome. Live action Batman Beyond also seems interesting. Did you know, okay, this is a bit of a tangent. Did you know that there was a Batman Beyond, a Into the Spider-Verse style Batman Beyond movie that was planned that got canceled?
Really?
Yes. What are they thinking? That could have been something to save DC movies. And I can guarantee that would have got my butt in the theater. I would have gone and watched that. That sounds phenomenal. Anyways, to get back on the thing, it's like, yeah, they brought in Kang in Loki, and now I haven't watched season 2 of Loki. I haven't seen any of the newer stuff because I've just fallen off from Marvel. I've heard they've completely ditched Kang. Like,
that's dumb.
Like he's not even there anymore. That's the thing. They bring in all these big name villains. If I remember correctly, I heard that MODOK was in the third Ant-Man and Wasp, and he's just done now. 2099 would also be a fantastic. I'm glad we at least got the Spider-Verse movies. Hey, that one's funny, group. That one's really funny. Oh gosh. Oh. Okay, they shut down an Arkham Batman Beyond game. Like, what are they thinking? Warner Brothers is allergic to money. Yeah, dude. Oh, the actor that played Kang is in jail. See, they could have just replaced him. You want to talk about the multiverse thing? That's a perfect explanation. Oh, yeah. Hey, this is a different this is a different Kang from a different multiverse. They could have just pulled that out. You don't even have to acknowledge the original actor. Say, oh yeah, that Kang died. Yeah, he sucks. We don't like him anymore. Like, whatever. Just pull in another one. That's where the multiverse could come in handy, and they just don't use it. They're like, oh, well, that actor's gone. Guess that character's gone, too. But, they already explained that all the Kangs were the same actor. Well, they just painted themselves into a corner then.
Yeah.
Good grief. At the very least, then you could step outside yourself and say, hey, we need to recast. They already did it once. Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Like, it just happened. There was no explanation. It wasn't, oh, this is a new guy. No, that was still...
Don Cheadle is still upset about that, by the way.
Don Cheadle is?
No, the
Terrence
first
Howard,
guy's still upset. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course he is. Because Terrence Howard's a moron. Like, I could rant about him, too. He's hilarious. He thinks he's invented his own kind of math. Legitimately, he believes 1 × 1 is 2. And he uses the most, like, schizo explanation to try and justify it. It's hilarious. But, yeah, Bruce Banner 2. That's right. Eric Bana. I don't think the original Eric Bana movie is considered part of the MCU. But yeah, the Incredible Hulk, the Edward Norton one, is. And that's a major character that they just changed to Mark Ruffalo. I don't know exactly the reason. Yeah, that's what it was. Terrence Howard wanted double what RDJ made, even though RDJ was the starring actor. But yeah, they've already done it twice. Why can't they do it again? That doesn't make sense to me. Oh, boy. But what you sound like you were about to say something.
It is what it is.
I mean, yeah, it's just that, like, all of that is why I'm skeptical about seeing Galactus in Fantastic Four. Like, are they just going to have Galactus in that movie? The Fantastic Four are going to beat him and, oh, that's it. Galactus is gone.
It was kind of like they did so much work. So much work to hype up, what's-his-face?
Thanos?
Yeah, and then... Okay, they did 2. They did 2 movies about him.
He appeared in... Was it 4 total movies? I can't remember, because he appeared in the end credits of the original Avengers, very briefly. He appeared in the end credits of Age of Ultron, when it was made clear he was the next villain, fine, I'll do this myself. I can't remember if he was teased in any other movies. But then, yeah, he got his 2-parter Infinity War Endgame.
Yeah.
Norton wrote Bruce for the first Avengers, but he didn't want to play him. Oh, okay. That's actually interesting. That's pretty cool. Also didn't want that part staying empty, hence it's still canon. That's fair. There's a BTS and the I ate a bullet and the other guy spat it out. Oh, that is such a phenomenal line, and that's where I will point to as like, this is where Marvel was and this is where it is now. That line, you would not get that out of modern Marvel.
No, not at all.
Like, that was a fantastic line, and seeing that in the theaters, like, oh, Hulk wants to off himself. He was teased in the first Guardians as well. Okay, so 5 movies. 5 movies, 3 of which was just like small in credit, or I don't know what the Guardians one was. I don't know if it was in movie or if it was in credit. But it's like
No, they referenced him throughout the entire movie.
That's right. They did name drop him because Ronan, right?
Yeah, Gamora.
Well, not. I mean,
Gamora and Ronan.
The fight. Yeah, the bad guy for the first Guardians movie was working for him.
Kind of. He got one of the stones from him.
Okay, I think it's Ronan.
Yeah,
because it's Ronan, not Ronin, like the samurai.
Yeah.
Gosh, he looks goofy in comic book form. Although I guess a lot of characters do. But yeah, I guess he wanted to betray Thanos, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did forget about that one. Ronnie the Destructor. But that is at least enough to plant the seed in your mind of, oh, Thanos exists. And I can gripe about I'm not the biggest fan of Infinity War and Endgame. I know a lot of people love them and they think that's the last time Marvel was good, but I thought they were okay, but I don't think they were as great as everybody claims they are. I think they felt more epic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Ronan the Accuser. Or Ronan the Accuser. Yeah, I think that was it. But I don't think those movies were that great. I thought Thanos felt good as a villain, and for once they actually let him have more than one movie. Although I still don't think it was enough, and I don't like my biggest gripe with Thanos is how he takes this, like not benevolent, that's not the right word, altruistic approach in the first movie where he's like, oh, I'm doing it. There's too many people. There's not enough food on all these planets, so I'm doing it to save people. I thought that was...
Yeah, they messed him up so bad because that was
so lame. The OG Thanos in the comics was scary, dude. He wanted to kill half the universe to impress death. Like that they tried to go with the whole sympathetic villain or the what's the end justify the means kind of thing.
And they gotta stop doing that.
Well, they gotta pick a different character to do that with, not the Mad Titan. He's called the Mad Titan because he tries to kill people to impress a woman. Like, the dude's insane. And then they realized that it was like, oh, well, that didn't fly the best. So in Endgame, they was just like, oh, well, now I just want to kill you guys. I'm like, I don't know. I would have preferred if they started from the bat being like, yes, I am evil. I have an intention to kill you people. And it's nothing personal against anyone. That's never the way it was. He was like, I don't care who lives or dies, but I'm still going to do this because it's going to benefit me. I get that, but I still think they could have done something different rather than try and make him that sympathetic villain. I think we have enough sympathetic villains. They should have done something else. Like, even if they can't pull in Lady Death and all Deadpool and all that, they should have done something else to make him evil in the way he was in the comics, because that was what made Thanos so threatening.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true that the way Marvel had a lot of their one-offs, it was just evil for evil's sake. That I don't think there's really any villain in Marvel movies, I need to clarify, that cross that line of being like super great and memorable. There's a couple that come close. I think Thanos wasn't far, like the concept for Thanos wasn't far off. I just didn't like it being attributed to Thanos. I think
Yeah.
While, mind you, the plot twist of everybody just believing Mysterio is dumb, I thought the sequences of Mysterio's illusions were great. Ultron was close, but he would have had more weight if he lasted more than one movie. See, I don't like Killmonger. I thought he was fine for Black Panther, but I don't think he was that great of a villain, all things considered.
I really liked Killmonger.
Really?
That.
I just... Maybe it's just because I didn't like the Black Panther movie as a whole.
I like the Black Panther movie. That's that.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not gonna disagree with you. I didn't think it was bad, but it was one of those Marvel movies that I was just like, eh. I thought it had a lot of great moments, and I love T'Challa. Like, Chadwick Boseman's another example of the perfect casting for Black Panther, and it's why I've not seen Black Panther 2. I've heard it's not great, but I at least respect their decision not to recast in that case.
Yeah.
Ugh. Vulture from Spider-Man 1 wasn't bad. I don't think he was fantastic. Oh yeah, the Iron Man 3 villain sucked. That movie is good except for the villain. I think the villain is the worst part of that movie. Whiplash is entertaining. Vulture was decent. I liked what they did bringing in the Rogues Gallery for No Way Home, which I still think was the last good Marvel movie I've watched. Black Panther 2 wasn't planned?
No.
Really?
No, because Chadwick Boseman was sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that, but why did they decide to make it after he died? Red Skull was fun. Red Skull I do like. But, nothing was surprising. Yeah, wasn't there... There was some really weird... Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Iron Man 3 is The Incredibles.
Mm-hmm.
It's The Incredibles. It's his scorned former... Well, somebody who looked up to him. It wasn't a pupil in this case, but... I guess it wasn't in Incredibles either. But... good grief. I need this gone. But it was somebody who looked up to him. He was their hero, and then he crushed their dreams, and then they come back to... Like, there's a video somebody made around the time that literally just, like, hits point for point why the movie is The Incredibles. And I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
But outside of the villain, I thought the rest of Iron Man 3 was fairly entertaining. I knew that well, yeah, of course Chadwick Boseman dying wasn't planned. I get that. Oh, they had to reshoot the film. Okay. See, that was my confusion. I thought you were saying, like, well, they didn't plan to make Black Panther 2, and then Chadwick Boseman died, and they went, oh, well, I guess we have to make Black Panther 2. That's... Okay, that was just a misunderstanding, is all. That makes more sense that he was supposed to be in the film, and then, of course. I want to applaud something about the MCU, knowing its limitations. it was a great movie to make the Infinity Stones hidden in other iconic comic book items. Yes. And that's the thing. I think the original, like, I can't say I liked all the movies from Phase 1 to Phase 3, like, from Iron Man to Endgame, because I think there were some crap movies in there. I did not like Captain Marvel when I watched it. I think Thor: The Dark World is still probably the worst movie they've ever put out. I can't even remember.
There have been some
that
bad
freaking
movies
movie.
since then.
There have been. There absolutely have been. I just haven't watched any of them, so. Thor: The Dark World was peak. See, I've heard that the second half of Loki is really good too, but my thing is I've just gotten so stale on Marvel. I don't want to watch anything related to it. Like, the last thing that I was really excited to watch for Marvel was Moon Knight, and I thought it was okay. I'm not gonna gush about it. I'm not gonna say it was terrible, but it 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 did some things right. It did some things not so right. But ultimately, I wasn't, like, throwing tomatoes at the creators because they ruined my favorite character. Oh yeah, Brie Larson is terrible. She's easily the worst person involved in the MCU. That's still a current actor, mind you. I don't know if there's anybody who's done some terrible things behind the scenes. I mean, I know Kang got arrested, but I don't know what for. But yeah, I do not like Brie Larson at all. And that's the thing. It translated into Captain Marvel. She was just, like, wicked on screen. She did not come off like a superhero at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eternals. I heard Eternals was terrible from people who watched it, and that's, like, she had zero risk. Oh gosh, I still can't laugh.
You're a problem.
I've been told that this is going to last for a few weeks because that's how pneumonia works, and I don't like that.
Yeah, man. Because you gotta get the fluid off your lungs.
Yeah, everything's gotta get out. I don't like it. Yeah, that is absolutely a problem group. And that's the thing. It's what I talked about earlier, where it was like build up bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they get to the point where they can't scale it back. Like, once they hit end game, you've reached the point you can't really scale it back. The other issue that I have with it is, because of the multiverse, now to keep updated with the MCU, you have to watch 16 different movies and 8 different TV shows. I can't let Marvel just consume my whole life, especially when it's like the least interesting thing now to me.
Yeah.
Oh, Aquafina's not great either. Shang-Chi was okay. It was at least unique.
I didn't like Shang-Chi.
I thought the concept was at least different enough. But yeah, I mean, it was just another one that it was like, no. Yeah, that's exactly. Spider-Man was good. I never watched anything else. Like, pull up the list. Phase 4. What movies were in Phase 4?
Phase 4.
Black Widow. Never saw it. Heard it was terrible. Shang-Chi. Saw it. Very meh. Eternals. Never saw it. Spider-Man No Way Home. The last good MCU movie. Multiverse of Madness. Never saw it. Heard it wasn't great. Love and Thunder. Never saw it. Heard it wasn't great. Black Panther. Wakanda Forever.
Hey, you're breaking up.
It's because my microphone's being stupid. Black Panther. Never saw it. Heard it wasn't great. Phase 5.
I missed a lot of that.
Basically, outside of Spider-Man, The only other movie I watched was Shang-Chi. That was
I did not
meh.
care for Shang-Chi.
I thought it was meh. Spider-Man No Way Home was fantastic, and the rest of Phase 2 sucked. Well, I can't say it sucked. I never watched it, but I heard they weren't good. Red Guardian was really good in Black Widow. That's what I've heard was the only good character. I don't like the fact that they wasted Taskmaster in that movie. I do know about that. Ugh. Multiverse had cool moment. That's all you'd give it. Yeah, exactly. And that's like cool moments. That's not enough to carry a movie. See, yeah, Dauntless. Most of the people that I'm friends with, who went and saw these Marvel movies, were like, no, they weren't good. Like, fair enough. Not development. Show me the films. Phase 5, Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Never watched it. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I heard it was good. I still haven't watched it because it's that same thing of like, I can't, it's so hard to get me into the theaters to see a Marvel movie now.
I watched it on on Disney Plus when it came out there.
How'd you feel about it?
I enjoyed it, but it was not about Star-Lord.
Okay.
It was about Rocket.
That's what Justin told me. And he said for that one reason you need to watch it. I'm like, okay, maybe I will. Shimura Gorath? Easter egg in the beginning of Multiverse? Okay. Yeah, and that's what I've heard about Guardians 3, that it's a solid watch, and you don't have to keep up with everything else, and so that's probably one of the ones I'll go back and watch. But it's just that consistent issue of like, I don't want to go spend money to watch Marvel movies anymore. Now, next, the Marvels don't care. It was a Captain Marvel movie. I was never going to watch it even if it was free. Deadpool and Wolverine. I keep forgetting that's considered part of the MCU now. That one was legitimately fantastic. The only reason I went to watch it, though, was one, I heard a lot of people saying it was great, and two, I liked the other two Deadpool movies. And they were so different from the MCU movies.
Yeah.
One of my problems with a lot of the MCU movies is they have this lack of ability to have weight. They all feel like Deadpool, where there's nothing serious going on. They're just throwing constant jokes. Even Deadpool, though, manages to step back and look at, like, rough sides of things. Freaking, the first one, it's his whole fight to get Vanessa back. And him coming to terms with the fact that he's a freak now. Which, yeah, he does the funnies, but there is still moments where it's like, yeah, he's horrifying. Like, when she pulls the mask off of him and he's got I don't remember who it is, who's stapled to his face from the magazine, but... like,
Ryan Reynolds.
Was it Ryan Reynolds? I wanted to say it was Ryan Reynolds, but I didn't think he stapled himself. I thought it was someone like Brad Pitt. But
no, it was Ryan Reynolds.
It was
okay. Really funny.
Cool.
That was the whole joke of it.
See, and yeah, that was funny, but it's also showing like he doesn't want to show her what he looks like now. Then in the second one, she dies, and he wants to die the entire movie. Like... there's numerous times where he's like, yep, I wish I could just off myself. And then Deadpool 3 has some of the same moments where it's like when they're in the bar and you learn that this Wolverine was the biggest failure out of all of them. Like,
yeah.
Huge jacked man. Like, all three of those had those moments that the rest of the MCU doesn't for the most part. Whereas Cable, he didn't return back to his time. I don't remember. I thought he did return, but maybe he didn't. I do recall having that thought, like, why is Cable not involved in this? I also had the thought, why was the Weasley little guy that was Deadpool's right-hand man for the first two movies, why wasn't he in it? But then I also...
because he got arrested.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was because he got arrested, he got in trouble for something. But
something to do with children.
Oh, was it? Oh. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people were very upset about it.
Womp womp. That's... I remember looking up something like that, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but... Oh my gosh.
Stop dying.
I apologize to anybody listening to my streams for probably the next few weeks. That's going to be consistent.
Just get better lungs.
Yeah, I did like that actor too, but I mean, if he's a piece of crap, he's a piece of crap. He's practicing his character and how bad he wanted to do crimes. See, that's what I hate. It hurts so much when somebody who you were entertained by gets revealed to be like a horrible person. Because you always feel conflicted when you're enjoying something they made. And it's just like, some halls? No, I'm gonna cough anyways. I've used an inhaler, like actual freaking inhaled medicine, and cough syrup. Like I'm like double, triple downing on different kinds of remedies to stop myself from coughing. My body wants to get all the infection out of my lungs, so it's gonna force me to cough. I can't do nothing about it. But like one of the best example, and I mean this could tie, I know we did all our Rooster Teeth talk yesterday, but Ryan Haywood, he was one of my favorite members of Achievement Hunter, and near the end, like around 2020 when I stopped watching anything Rooster Teeth, he was one of the only reasons I still watched Achievement Hunter, because he kept things hilarious. Then when he got outed as a sex pest, like,
yeah,
you can't support that. And I don't feel conflicted going back and watching his old comedy stuff, but I certainly wouldn't support him if he popped up and tried to stream again.
Which he did try, and that went over like very poorly.
Oh yeah, no, that did not go over well. Turns out when you sexually harass community members, that same community's not all too willing to come back and support you again. That's exactly the same thing, Dauntless. I had gotten to the point where I didn't like watching most of the other people for AH. Not like I still enjoyed Jeremy. Like, he's funny, he's streaming. Ray, of course, like Ray's the only streamer I actually watch. I liked a lot of their personalities. I think just around that time there was some sort of shift. I stopped liking Jack all that much around that time.
He got really political really fast.
Him and
I
Michael
was not a fan of it.
Both got very political. Yeah. And that was I'm like, guys, can you shut up about the politics and just make jokes, please? Like, you're like, be entertaining. Like, I don't want to hear you when I'm watching a Let's Play when I just got home from school. I want to hear you make jokes. I don't want to hear you ramble on about politics. Yeah, Jeremy left. They fired Matt. Like, there's all sorts of things that went down. But I already thought the company was going in the wrong direction when the Ryan thing happened. And I was just like, Well, that's kind of the nail in the coffin, and just I think we literally burn all of our AH shirts.
And I still have a couple. You might have. I've put them all away though.
I got rid of all of mine. I don't have a single one left. The only Rooster Teeth thing that I might have things. It might be plural. I need to turn on the light in my room real quick. Hold on. But I still have
You still have the moon ball because we throw that around.
Okay, yeah. I have 2 of the moon balls. Although the one that was Achievement Hunter branded, I did like scrub the logo off. I have a Ruby's scythe that I got from Loot Crate. I have Washington's helmet, which is just the regular Master Chief helmet that one of my friends painted for me to cosplay. And I have the Ruby picture that's the 4 main... The Team Ruby signed by all the voices.
Yeah, but you don't get rid of that one. That's cool.
It's not on display. It's just up in my closet. Because I took it out of its thing, put it in just like the protector they give you. I took it out of its frame, put it in one of the protectors for one of my other pictures, and put a different picture in the frame to hang it. I think that's all the Rooster Teeth stuff I have left. I don't think I have anything else. Everything else I got rid of because I had a bunch of shirts. I had the green shirt that just had the slightly lighter green, or rather slightly darker green Achievement Hunter logo. Yeah, they fired Matt. They straight up canned him. He's talked about it on his streams before. I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, he just came to work one day and they said, "Hey, clean off your desk."
Yeah, after they got rid of all of his benefits.
Yes. Yeah, that was the case.
They completely messed him up.
They screwed him. See, I got past the 3D animation for Ruby because I thought it was an interesting concept. I've never watched the later seasons because, once again, I fell off of it. I like seasons 1 through 3. Season 4 is decent. I think season 5 was the last one I watched, and it was getting very, and then I never really watched anything after that. One thing that I will always complain about the show is they were setting up for Blake and Sun to be a pair, and Sun was becoming a more major character, and then they did a hard pivot to do the fan fiction of Yang and Blake. Like the fan fiction everybody had, they were calling Bumblebee. They just did a hard pivot, and Sun didn't exist in the show anymore. I'm like, you did my boy wrong. Like, he was my favorite character, and then he just doesn't exist in the show? You know what? Do the whole lesbian relationship, I don't really care. But you use that to, push him to the side completely? Why? He was my favorite character. Why'd you do that to him? My poor boy. He doesn't exist anymore. He had gunchucks. That was easily the coolest weapon in the show. He swung around nunchucks that fired guns. It doesn't make any sense, but it's awesome. Come on.
It's cool. Who cares?
It's just cool. And now he's not in the show anymore. I mean, as far as I know. I mean, no one's in the show anymore. The show doesn't exist. But I know a lot of people said that his role diminished heavily after season 4. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Season 4 was when he was getting cool. Him and Blake were having their private investigator thing. Oh, the Ghost Hunter show? That was one I never watched. That was close to
It was really funny.
Yeah, that was one I wanted to watch, but I think it was exclusive to their subscription, right? Their first, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
You wanted claws that turned into a Mega Man Buster. See, that's what was so fun about Ruby 2 is coming up with like different cool. Like my first D&D character, the name Storm came from an idea I had where I was like, oh man, if they're doing like I made a Ruby character because I was, freaking 13 and a stupid child. I like the name Storm that I had for my stupid Ruby OC was what became the name for my first D&D character. Now, completely different character, not at all related to the stupid OC I made, but like man, I did enjoy Ruby a lot. I liked Yang's shotgun fists too. That I think was the most interesting aspect of the show is all the transforming weapons. Because you had those, you had Weiss had the rapier that had the elements in it. Blake's was the least interesting of the main characters with it was just kind of a small sword with a gun in it. I can't remember all of them. I know there was the one chick that wore the beret that had the minigun in the freaking briefcase.
Oh yeah, the bunny girl.
She was not the bunny girl. Bunny girl was the one who had the photo that created clones of all of her friends. That was Bunny Girl. But Coco, I think, was the name of the leader of that team. Because all the people in the show are named after colors. So, But,
wait, were they?
Yeah. Ruby is a kind of red. Weiss, it would be Weiss, which is white in German. Blake is black. I don't know what language that would be. Yang is yellow, I think in Chinese. Like Mandarin or something like that. I don't know what language exactly again. Yeah, like pretty much every character in the show. Now there was certain ones that did step out, like Glinda, who was one of the the blonde-haired woman who was higher up in the academy. She was named after Glinda the Good Witch from Oz, Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
And Ozpin, I think, was the name of the actual head of the school, and he was named after Oz from the Wizard of Oz. Like there was stuff like that. It was either like colors or fairy tales, but I mean when you think about it, Mercury, Emerald, now then there was Sun Wukong's team, which were all named after like mythical heroes. Sun Wukong, that his friend was Neptune. I don't remember the other two on their team because they were less relevant. There were... I can't remember all the characters' names. But yeah, a great deal of them were named after colors. That was a theme. Even Penny. Penny's a color. It's a kind of like copper-ish color. But anyways, then we got off on a whole ass tangent.
Yeah.
We freaking segue into that. Rooster Teeth was one of those that suffered from writing issues. As Ruby got into its later seasons, it had some writing issues. RVB after season 14 had bad writing issues. There's like maybe one joke after season 14 that I remember laughing at, and it was Griff trying to explain what pizza was to all the people who didn't know what they were like. Pizza doesn't exist. What's pizza? That's not what does that mean? He's explaining it, and they're like, oh, so it's like a calzone. He's like, yes, but unfolded. And they're like, why would you want to unfold a calzone? He's like, because it's delicious. Like that was funny. But that was one joke in the midst of like a sea of just nothing memorable.
Yeah.
See, Dauntless, I liked the Chorus trilogy, which was 11 through 13, and then 14, while it was weird, had some interesting concepts. Because Joel was still around through season 13, at least. Because, Caboose was still around through season 13. That was the whole Chorus trilogy still had the original cast. The Chorus trilogy actually has what was the only red versus blue shirt that I almost bought, which was from that chick, I think Lindsay voiced her. The psychoanalysis for everyone. I almost bought that RVB shirt because that was one of my favorite lines. See, I loved the Church Saga. I can't disagree that the Church Saga was the best saga of the show. From, all the freelancer stuff, like, all of that was great. I still think the Chorus trilogy was solid, and the end of season 13 was the perfect way to wrap Red vs. Blue up and finish it. And season 14 was an interesting project to be like, hey, here's some other things. Like, here's Locus and Felix before they were Spartans.
Yeah.
And it was just like those little side stories. I thought that was entertaining. I didn't think it was as good. And it was clearly when you can start to see where the quality declined a little bit. But I think everything seasons 1 through 14 are worth watching. After that, don't bother. But I think there's this big issue with writing. There's what I mentioned earlier, which is the one-upmanship. Like, we always got to get bigger. We can never stop getting bigger, and everything has to be huge now. We have to one-up everything. Everything's like, when was King Brachus introduced? That was in like season 15 or 16. That was literally, I think the last episode that I watched was when he got introduced, and I'm like, I'm not watching this anymore. This is stupid. There's that issue. There's the issue of there's so many issues. There's so many issues with writing. What was it earlier that there was something earlier that made me put that on the board in particular. Because definitely the whole, oh, that's an A-list actor, that character's not going to die, hurts suspense. Oh! It kind of still ties back into our whole Marvel discussion earlier, but, like, when I mentioned that I think all the Marvel movie villains aren't that great, and why I clarified it was movies, I think Kingpin in the Daredevil show is one of the most amazing villains put into a TV series. He was phenomenal. Vincent D'Onofrio was a great casting. He was always menacing. He was ever present throughout the entire series. I think he even showed up in Punisher, didn't he?
No.
No? Okay. No, oh, I'm thinking of season 2 of Daredevil when Punisher was in prison with him. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But, and that's the thing, like, Punisher comes in, and Punisher is the antagonist for Daredevil. Punisher was fantastic. That whole season's amazing. And he's still, like, Punisher's beefing with Kingpin. And it all builds up to that fantastic fight in the apartment where it's just like the two of them, and Bullseye's involved too, but just beating the crap out of each other. That is where I think TV is so much better at portraying comic book characters. You can look at Batman the Animated Series. Why was that series so beloved? Because you didn't have one thing where the Joker showed up and then he was gone. The Joker was always there. As a matter of fact, he was usually the main villain throughout the animated series. But you had Clayface and Penguin, like Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy,
Yeah.
all of Batman's fantastic rogues gallery all showed up constantly. Yeah, we talked about Fantastic Four earlier, group. I'm very, very skeptical on it. And no, Dauntless, I did not see the new Death Battle. I have not paid attention to Death Battle in so long. I have issues with Death Battle in and of themselves. I think their research is flawed. But another one that I can complain about that's very close to Marvel, just because of who they're owned by, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think most of the Star Wars writing, outside of The Mandalorian, any Star Wars writing past 2010? When did the Clone Wars end? Actually, before, because I know the Clone Wars had some great writing. I don't remember when it ended. Like 2017.
That was actually, then they went back to it. But that was Dave Filoni.
Yeah. He did The Mandalorian too, right?
Yes, he also did Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah. Anything that guy touches related to not Marvel, Star Wars is the only good Star Wars thing since Revenge of the Sith. Like, seriously, that guy single-handedly is writing Star Wars well.
Yeah.
I never even watched Acolyte, but I've seen enough from it to know that I would not like it. Star Wars is in the same spot as Marvel for me. I know Disney's not going to do a good job writing it. The last Star Wars thing that I watched was Obi-Wan. And I thought Obi-Wan was okay.
I enjoyed Obi-Wan.
I thought there were certain bits I really liked, certain bits I didn't like as much. I did not like the Inquisitor chick that much. I thought she could have been done better. But the last episode of Obi-Wan was phenomenal. The fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, that was great. I loved that. I did not watch Andor. Star Wars is in that same boat as Marvel. I just feel so burned out of watching not great stuff. And as a matter of fact, for Star Wars, I'm not even going to spare it like I did Marvel. The sequel trilogy was bad. Legitimately, some of the worst movies that I've watched in theaters. I can't say the worst.
The first one was good. I really enjoyed the first one.
First one was good, but it gets tarnished by the fact that the next two did not stick the landing.
Yeah.
Andor's League's better than Rogue One. Okay, I liked Rogue One. I enjoyed Rogue One. I was a little hasty with that anything after Revenge of the Sith, because I liked Rogue One and I liked Solo, but they don't hold up to either the prequels or the originals or the Clone Wars or Mandalorian. Like, they're just, I don't know. I could ramble on about Star Wars for a while, because there's a lot of Star Wars stuff I like. I love, like, the original Battlefront 2. That campaign where you play as the 501st Legion, that's fantastic. I know Andor's a prequel to Rogue One. And it's one of those things, like, it may be good and I may like it, but it's just so hard. When I'm already not somebody who sits down and watches stuff that often anyways, it's hard for me to sit down and go, when I actually am in the mood to watch something, and go, yeah, let me watch something Marvel or Star Wars.
Yeah.
You've not been disappointed by Star Wars Part 9 because you didn't watch it. Yeah, that's about the only way you wouldn't be disappointed. Finn was ruined. Rey's character was uninteresting. The only decent part about it was Kylo, and I still think that could have been done better. But
Yeah.
they legit have the line, somehow Palpatine returned. There's a reason it still gets memed. I just saw somebody post yesterday, somehow Rooster Teeth returned, and that was actually really funny.
Yeah. I don't remember who somebody I know who posted it because Ray referenced it.
Oh my gosh. What? Yeah,
Ray was talking about it.
Why was Ray like, I'm a Skywalker now? No, you're not. You're a freaking Palpatine. You're a Palpatine. What? And why aren't you a Palpatine? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, I need to... I can get mad over this, because it's just bad. When not compared to the rest of Star Wars, Part 7 is... Yeah, that's the thing. Force Awakens is a decent movie. I remember in 2015 walking out of the theaters with my dad and his friend from work who took us to go see it, with all of us going, that was pretty good. Oh my gosh, we're gonna cry because Han Solo's dead. But everything else was great. Like, I can't wait for the next 2 movies. Then me and my dad go and see Rise of Skywalker was the second one?
Yes.
No, it was The Last Jedi. Second one was The Last Jedi. We go and see The Last Jedi, and we walk out of the theater and we're like, that wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen.
But
it wasn't good. And then we watched the third one and we were like, we walked out like, yeah, that was bad. That was bad. There was nothing redeemable about that movie. It was bad. And him being soured on Star Wars is even more sad than it is for me, because he was one of the people who went and watched the original Star Wars in theaters when he was like 7 years old. When he was a kid. He's been tied to Star Wars since he was young, and now they've even managed to beat him away from being interested in it.
Yeah.
There is one thing that I will give Last Jedi, and it was a scene that makes absolutely no sense, but it was incredibly entertaining visually. When the chick does the hyperspace jump through the Imperial fleet.
Yes.
Very visually
beautiful
pleasing.
scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely cinematic. Loved it. Makes no sense whatsoever. What's more ruined, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? Star Wars. I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings show. I know it's bad, but Star Wars. 100% Star Wars. Because the problem is, Lord of the Rings is, like, nothing's been touched with the original Lord of the Rings. Like, I know nothing's been touched with the original trilogy either, but with Han, Luke, and Leia all being in the sequel trilogy, it feels like they did monkey with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like Star Wars is tainted just by Disney owning it. I hate Disney, just as an aside, but I think Disney's terrible. They suck. But that's one reason that I think Star Wars, like, just them being associated with Disney hurts it.
Yeah.
They could have made that shot work by needing both ships to enter hyperdrive. Make sure you can't do it with one. Yeah, like there's other ways they could have made that work, but absolutely, when all the sound just goes out and you see the line zipping through the fleet, and then everything explodes, that's a visually entertaining scene, and I can't take that away. That was one of those ones where I sat there in the theater, like, jaw dropped, like, oh. And then later on I thought about it, like, that made 0 sense, but it was still cool. And there's things like that, like I know I mentioned earlier with Jurassic Park and the dinosaur rearing up in the cloud that doesn't make sense. If something's cool enough like that, I can at least suspend my disbelief. And that's one of those things where I could look at that and go, okay, that was cool. But then the rest of the movie keeps going, and it just sucks. Leia flying through space holding a pose. Yeah, like, hand out, just floating forward. And why didn't they let Finn sacrifice himself? Yeah, rule of cool. Absolutely, Dauntless. It's exactly what happens at a D&D table. Is that going to be cool? Or is that going to make any sense? No. Is it going to be cool? Yes. All right, we'll let it happen. Like, there's a certain extent that you can get away with that in fiction.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that's the one credit I can give that movie, and I can't give any credit to Last Skywalker. That movie's just bad. Okay, I can give one piece of credit, and it's how entertaining it is when Kylo Ren pulls the lightsaber out from behind his back and then just does the shrug. Like,
yeah,
that was interesting, but that's not going to redeem a movie. If his character had been like that through the whole movie, maybe. Finn could have been an interesting character, and in the first one, he already wasn't like. I don't think he's the best interpretation they've done of a former stormtrooper turned, not just resistant, but defecting from the Empire or the First Order, whichever. He's not the most interesting case of that, but I still think he could have been done well. Then in movie 3, it was just Rey, Rey, Rey. Like, that's his only purpose, is to shout for her. You want to know what defected stormtrooper I think was the best? Bill Burr's character in The Mandalorian.
Not even Han Solo?
Is he?
Yeah, he's a defected Imperial pilot.
Oh. Yeah, he is. I forgot about that. But, counter argument, they don't focus on that. That's not the main thing with his character. He's the smuggler, he's the, he's not really the hero, but he's involved in all of it. That was his character. They didn't really explore the, he's a former stormtrooper angle.
Yeah.
But Bill Burr's character, I think, was just done phenomenally in that second season episode of The Mandalorian. First season 1, he was just like Finn. He was just a defected stormtrooper. It was not really a thing. It was just like, oh yeah, he used to be a stormtrooper. Okay, cool. And then in the second one, when he actually has to sit face to face with one of his former officers, that is like that has some weight. That is a fantastic scene.
Yeah. You in there. You in there.
That's cheating, though.
Okay.
See, that's what I'd want if they did a show with Finn, but I just don't think he's interesting enough of a character now. They botched his character, and I mean, they botched every single character in that freaking trilogy.
Yeah.
I also love... So, here's one of the things I hate about Disney. I'll go into this a little bit. An example. They are so big on the LGBT stuff, and then they don't back it up.
Yeah.
In that same movie, they have a scene right at the end when everybody's celebrating where 2 women kiss. It is a 2-second scene. So they can cut it out when they send it over to China. So they can make money over there. The almighty dollar is more important than actually having any sort of integrity. They try and stay... It's the same thing. Granted, every single freaking company does it. When they change their things to a Pride logo for Pride Month and then go back to not caring about anybody. They just want money. I get that. It's a corporate greed kind of thing. Oh yeah, Captain Phasma. She was Boba Fett on steroids. She stood around and looked cool. Boba Fett at least had some uh uh what's the word I'm looking, like cool lines. I know he only had like 5 lines, but still, he's no good to me dead. Like the, he so effortlessly filled that role. Exactly. Phasma was them trying super hard to make another Boba Fett. No, I didn't know anything about that, Dauntless, but yeah, they're not big on that. They're big on image. Exactly. And if the image they present in America that gets them the most money is being LGBT friendly, then they'll do that. But when it's time to send it over to China, oh no, we hate gay people. Like,
Yeah.
like, and again, that's every single freaking company, like major company. Every company does that because they want to make money, which we're getting off onto another tangent that's a little too serious.
Yeah.
But this is why I hate corporatism. We don't live in a capitalist society. We live in a corporatist society. But anyways,
Yeah, we do.
Shows in that movie that you can't do that. She got overshadowed by Club Clone. Yeah. Yeah. Traitor. Oh, also, what was with the whole thing of General Hux being the freaking general of the First Order being the informant? That was one of those moves where they tried too hard to get big-brained with it and be like, oh, nobody will ever see this coming. Because it's literally the dumbest thing that we could do.
I don't know, man.
Oh, boy. But yeah, I hate modern writing.
Yeah. It needs to change. It really does. It needs to get everybody in. It needs to be completely overhauled, top to bottom.
Can I go ahead and make a call?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this here, and I'm going to call back to this if I'm right. There is going to be a AAA game crash. They're like a gaming market crash akin to E.T. Atari, and there's going to be a movie crash. Although the movie crash is going to be very different because movies are a lot more ingrained in society.
Yeah.
But I think both are going to happen. Video games for the reason of it's getting too expensive to produce a AAA game, and the developers aren't putting in the right amount of effort, and they end up spending hundreds of millions on a game that makes nothing. So you're already going to have Ubisoft is going to be gone. There's other AAA game developers that are just not going to exist anymore. Activision is in trouble, But Hollywood's going to get in trouble because people are still going to go and see movies, but I think I guess it's more so the big budget silver screen movies are not going to work the same. I think it's going to retract into the streaming market kind of stuff. Like it's already been that way for a bit, but I think that the whole idea of going to the theaters is just one, it's too expensive. I'm not spending $28 to see a crappy movie. The thing with movies is I think it'll take a lot longer for movies to get there. I could see the game market crashing in the next 5 years. Movies, they're a lot more ingrained and a lot more.
I could see the movie
accepted.
marketing both the movie and the gaming market crashing in the next year.
That time games almost disappeared as a medium. Yeah, I think That's what I'm saying. Like AAA is going to crash like Atari did, like Atari did. Yes, did almost kill video games. This crash is going to kill AAA games.
Yeah.
At least for a little bit. Because it's going to sour the market. You're going to have a lot of these big companies who are like, well, it's not worth it to do this anymore. And they're going to pull out of the market because it's not profitable. Because the bottom line is it's money. They want money. And if they're not going to make money, hopefully...
There's no point.
I pray, I so hope that when they realize they're not making money off of pumping out crappy AAA games or crappy movies, that all of these suits take a step back and go, hey, maybe us being old dinosaurs that don't know how any of this stuff works isn't actually going to make us that much money. Maybe we should step back and let writers do their thing. Maybe we'll make more money that way if we actually put out entertaining products. Like,
Yeah.
Why is a Batman Beyond movie getting canned? People would love that. People would absolutely love that. Why is the Batwoman movie, which was finished, just getting scrapped?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing stuff like that? Smite 1 and Paladins are going offline? Oh. Interesting. So that's a hero shooter and a MOBA both going offline. That's just like Multiverses is going offline too.
Multiverses?
Yeah.
What game is that?
The Warner Brothers one where it's like the Smash Bros clone where you could play as Shaggy and Batman and Lola Bunny.
Oh.
Yeah, they're officially canceling, or not canceling. They're ending support for the game.
Damn.
Talking about finishings not releasing. Ooh, what you got? What you got? Hit us with it. There's a whole cast of Multiverses characters that were done but got canned. Yep. Oh man, that game is going to be a case study someday on how not to deliver a video. That's another example. They released the beta. The beta was loved by a lot of people. People were vibing with it. They were and okay, mind you, they didn't say it was a beta at first. It was just like, here, the game's out. And everybody was playing it. They're loving it. I think it started to slow down a little bit, but people really enjoyed it. And then they went, okay, no, actually that was just a beta. We're pulling it now. And then everyone's like, okay, that was weird. Then a year later, it comes back like, hey guys, we're back, and nobody cared. And then the people who did care, the very few people who were actually like, okay, I'll pick the game back up, the game was slower. They actually slowed down the game. And everybody was like, well, that sucks. Cool. Gone. That's why it's getting canned. Like, good grief. Executives are morons. Multiverses was too floaty. Yeah, like it's one of my like I could how do they slow it down more? They just I mean they just have to code in some sort of not input delay, but I mean essentially just take the game, take the slider, and then move it down to 0.75 speed.
Yeah.
That was in essence what they did. And it sucks because it's an interesting concept for a game, and I'm very passionate about game development because even though I'm not like planning on going into that anymore, it's still something that's very interesting to me, and I mean I love video games. And when there's a game that has such a great concept that could succeed and it doesn't, I I can almost 100% guarantee it was not the choice of the developers to pull that game when it was quote unquote a beta. And it was not their choice to slow it down. Someone in a suit from up high in Warner Bros. Stepped in and said, you need to do this. And they had to do it.
Yeah.
Because their boss said so. And that is one thing that I could ramble about for a while. I think corporate moron, I mean, they're not morons because they are obviously very intelligent to be in the spot they're in. I mean, okay, not necessarily very intelligent, but they're at least smart enough to be a businessman. But it doesn't matter how smart you are if you have literally no knowledge of the properties that you own, you're worthless. Like like if you are a businessman that owns a game development company and you don't know anything about game development, you shouldn't be stepping in and telling the developers they need to change anything. If you own a movie studio and you know nothing about making movies, you shouldn't be stepping in. It's the same thing that gets talked about with sports owners all the time. Would you want the owner of your sports team, who is just a rich dude who could buy a sports team, to step in and tell the guys who run the team how to run the team? No. Because he's just some old dude with money. That's all he is. He doesn't know anything about the sport most of the time. He knows enough to be like, oh, hey, that guy is the quarterback. Like, that's what he knows. He doesn't know anything intricate about, like player values, how much did this player produce last year? What were their analytics? Like, he doesn't know all of that. Same thing with the video game industry. They don't know anything, but they act like they do because they're businessmen and they're freaking arrogant. They think they're smarter than everybody else.
Business majors.
Yeah, business majors. Exactly. Gosh. I could get fired up about that because that just pisses me off. Matt Coville talked about it.
At almost 2 hours.
Yeah, we are. Sorry. Like I know I rambled a lot this time. I had a lot to talk about. You got your quote?
Oh, fuck. I've been a little bit distracted.
That's fair.
I know I got one saved on here somewhere. I used that one last week. Damn it. Okay, I got it. The only reason a warrior is alive is to fight, and the only reason a warrior fights is to win. Miyamoto.
Not bad. I was trying to find a Rooster Teeth quote, but all of those are very, very much things that I can't say. Come on.
Okay. So I will say this right now. Civ 7 is like playing 3 different games in one.
Okay.
It's real weird.
Okay, this is a long quote, but I'll read it. A great love is a lot like a good memory. When it's there, and you know it's there, but it's just out of your reach, it can be all you think about. And then you can focus on it and try to force it, but the more you do, the more you seem to push it away. But if you're patient and you hold still, well, maybe, just maybe, it'll come to you. I just have to be somewhere she can find me. And I mean, hell, if you have to live the rest of your life in a memory, you might as well make it a good one. Church.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Alex, you came in right at the end.
Hey.
Oh, boy.
Oh my lord.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll be back tomorrow with probably Elden Ring, because it's the only freaking thing I'm playing right now. Yeah.
I cannot stream Civ 7 until next week.
Okay. You can't stream it Saturday?
No.
Doesn't it release Saturday?
It releases Sunday, technically.
Okay, well then you can stream it Sunday. Well, no, because you work.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I understand.
But, due to copyright rules, I'm not allowed to stream it, but I can play it.
Yeah, you're playing it right now.
I just closed it.
Oh.
Because my eyes hurt. You're allowed to make videos about it, but there's certain things you can't show, and I'm too lazy to go blur all those out.
That's fair. But anyways, are you gonna stream tomorrow? No. You work tomorrow.
No, I work tomorrow.
Well, then eat a pair of nuts. Tally ho.
Fuck you. No, let's go back. Fuck you, tally ho.